Hey guys, Christina O'Brien here from Art with an Aussie, the YouTube channel, and Christina O'Brien Art, my Facebook page with all my art. If you guys are interested in doing Disney's Bruce from Finding Nemo, he's an Australian, just in case you couldn't tell by his accent, and If you feel like painting this, then follow along on my video that is coming up next, and I even have some music with it. He's done in acrylics. I absolutely love the way that he turned out. I love his teeth, I love his face. I began hating it when I first started. Depression, just there. But once I got into it and I started his teeth and I saw how amazing he looked, I just fell in love. So if you like Finding Nemo, if you like Disney, if you like painting, if you like anything, do him. He's worth it, he really is. I love him. And just a note, this is Disney's picture, not mine. I painted it. I can't sell it, but I can show you how to paint it. And you can't sell it either. You can give it away, but you can't sell it. Disney don't like it. And don't mess with Disney. Okay, so follow this. Go that way or that way, whichever way. And paint this. To begin with, I used Matisse's Southern Ocean Blue, which is also known as Pthalo Turquoise. I just covered the whole canvas with it because I wanted it as background for the water behind Bruce. Now to draw Bruce is quite easy. I just grab some chalk, and what I'm doing here is I'm actually looking at a picture of Bruce on my computer and just sketching the outline of him. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, I will put a link to my traceable up on Pinterest, and yeah, you can just copy that. This is Cerulean Blue. This is the base colour that I'm going to do for Bruce. I'm using Liquitex Basics, and it's a little, the paint is horrible. I really dislike Liquitex Basics sometimes because it's just so chunky, so you'll see that there's chunks, but there is nothing I can do about it. So I just paint him, the whole of him, in the Cerulean Blue. But while I'm doing that, I realise that the Cerulean Blue is a very similar colour to the Pthalo Turquoise in the background, so I will change that colour later on to a light blue. I'm using a large bright or a large flat brush. You could use just about anything just I did the background with it, and I've also done this part of Bruce with it. And I'll do the mouth part, which is whitish grey, with it as well. The colours used on Bruce's mouth are unbleached titanium from Matisse and a little bit of black from Liquitex Basics. Use whichever ones you want. I'm just mixing them together to get a little bit of a darker white. That's why I use the unbleached titanium. I'm just spreading the unbleached titanium with a little bit of black along Bruce's nose and mouth, and I'm trying to follow the contours of his face, so I'm going horizontally just to keep with Well, that bit I'm doing vertically. I've just got to prove myself wrong, don't I? Yeah, just try and follow the contours of his face. You don't do up and down squiggles unless you need to. Okay, to do his mouth, I'm using Napthol Crimson and some titanium white mixed together to make a little bit of a pink. Now, the bottom lip, the inside will be darker than the outside, but we won't be worrying about that right now. And the inside of his mouth, where the lips aren't, is going to be black. And then you're going to paint the teeth over the top of that black. See, I'm just mixing the Napthol Crimson and the titanium white to make a mid-range pink so I can do his lips. I'm just blending the red and the pink together here just to make the lips look thicker and, well, to blend the acrylic paint. I'm just putting on a layer of Napthol Crimson over the top of the pink just to make them look fuller. The more layers, the better. If you look at the pictures of Bruce, you'll see that he has a couple of scratches above his top lip. That's what I just painted in with the Napthol Crimson and a little bit of white. We'll go over it later to blend it all in. And I'm just doing his top lip here, and then I'll go on to the inside of his mouth. Just using the Liquitex Basics Mars Black to fill in the inside of the mouth, and like I said before, we'll do the teeth over the top of this white when it's over the top of this black when it's dry. Just using the Mars Black to fill in his pupils. This is just the start. It will change quite a few times with different layers that we put in. Now I'm just going over his fin here in another coat of Cerulean Blue, and I'm just making it a little bit bigger because I wasn't happy with it. And then next I'll do the shadow in Prussian Blue. I'm just going over the side of the fin that will be in the shade with a little bit of Prussian Blue, and yeah, the left side there is going to be darker than the right side because the light is coming from the right side. So I'm just going to eventually blend that in to the Cerulean Blue. Now I'm doing some more difficult pieces. These are the dark shadows and spots on Bruce's face that actually make his face look 3D and more realistic. I'm just looking at the photo that I have of Bruce, and I'm looking where the dark spots are. I've got Prussian Blue, I've got my Filbert, and I've got glazing liquid, and I'm just trying to define his nose and his cheeks right now. Just going to add some more darkness around his left eye with Prussian Blue, because that eye is going to be in the shadow, and adding the darkness from the reference picture. Always look at your reference picture and you'll see the different shades of blue in there, and that's all I'm doing. Okay, right now he's looking like he's being punched in the eye, but I promise you it gets a lot better. I decided to change the Pthalo Turquoise in the background to Liquitex Heavy Body Light Blue Permanent. And now onto the second coat of his mouthpiece. I've made this more white because I wanted it, it's not completely white, it still has a little bit of black in it to make it a very light grey. And I'm just going over it again. Now for the bottom piece of his mouth, I have his, that bit there. I add more black to the white because it's going to be darker down there, and as I'm going along I try to blend it into the blue. Even though the blue is dry, I'm just going over the blue just so that it looks, when you've done this bit, it looks like he has a belly, a round belly. That's the whole idea with doing the black streaks with the white. See how this second part of paint that I'm putting on, actually the second layer, it just makes it look so much better, and the more layers you add, the better it looks. That's why I just love adding layers and layers. Now on the next bit I will go over those dark bits that I've done because, well, I'm fickle and I wasn't happy with them. And like I say, while I'm trying to teach you how to paint, I'm also teaching myself how to paint. Okay, I've got some Cerulean Blue and I'm mixing it with titanium white, and I'm going to make it into a light blue, but not too light that it matches the background. And I'm going to go over the blue that I've already done on Bruce again, just to add another layer, because I wasn't completely happy with the way that I'd started out. And I used the Golden's gloss glazing liquid to just help it all blend together. I'm just using an even lighter mix of Cerulean Blue and Titanium White to start defining. On the top of his head there will be a reflection of light, a highlight, that's the word I'm looking for. There will be a highlight on that part of the head because that's where the sun is coming, so it's going to be lighter. And then I also start to do the highlights to try and make his nose appear more 3D-ish. Still using the same mix of Cerulean Blue and Titanium White, and on that right side of his face there will be more highlights. And now I'm just going over the top of it again just to make, because the top's going to be a little bit lighter as well. And then I'm going to get into defining his nose. Okay, I'm starting off with the Cerulean Blue and the Titanium White mix, and I'm making kind of a V shape that will become an X shape because the line goes down past his nose. See how it goes up again just above his eyes, and then there will be one that goes down across his nose as well. Just highlighting the top here, because if you look at the reference picture again, you'll notice that it's lighter there. And all the lights and the shadows are what make it appear really in your face. Now I'm just using Cerulean Blue with no Titanium White mixed in to make the lowlights or the, I can't think of it, the shadows around his eye. Now I'm going I go under the highlight there to make it appear more in depth, more away from you. And I'm just working around his eye with the Cerulean Blue just to make that eye seem to go back into his face. And now I'm just doing the same for the other side of his face. I'm just using Cerulean Blue just to make a little bit of depth there. And I'm just following the reference picture of where the shadows are. That's all I'm doing. And now I'm just looking around his face on the reference picture to see where any of the Cerulean Blue should go, where the beginning of the shadow should go. Just blending little bits here and there around his face. Okay, I've got some Cerulean Blue and a little bit of titanium white, and I'm just bringing the blue from the tip of his nose down into the whitish grey part of his mouthpiece. Okay, I'm trying my hardest here to get the titanium white out of the Lipsticks Basics tube because it's just about empty, but I do get it out. And this is where I'm doing the whites of his eyes, just going around the black there and just looking at the reference photo, or follow what I do. Okay, if you look at the picture on the reference picture, you'll see that the white of Bruce's eyes don't go under the black of his pupil, so they just go around it. I will be fixing this up later. Like I said, this is just the initial part. And on the right side of his eye, it goes around and just a teeny tiny little bit under the black. And yep, it's Napthol Crimson time again, and just going over the lips again for another layer. Like they say, every layer is more and more important. And I'm just going over the bottom of his lips here in Napthol Crimson just to make the bottom a little bit darker. As usual, I'm fickle, and I decided that I didn't like the top of his head, so I'm just going over it a little bit with the light blue permanent. Because yeah, I just didn't like the shape of his head. It was too pointy. Yeah. And here I am just going over the background again, just the bits that I wasn't quite happy with. Yeah, with the light blue permanent, I go over to this side now and just going over it, making sure it looks less grainy. And now I use a little bit of the light blue permanent just to do a little bit of a highlight on its fin, just on the right hand side there, because that's where the sun is going to be. I have a tendency of staring angrily at my paintings to try and figure out what it is that I don't like about it, and I slowly figure things out. Like I realised the top was too pointy, and I'm just about to realise that that right eye there is a little bit too pointy, so I will go down in a second and fix it up. Okay, here I am using the light blue permanent to unsharpen that right eye a little bit. I just didn't like the way that it was pointy. In the reference picture it's round. And now I am stepping right back to the end of the garage to check out the painting. I do that quite regularly. If you're standing too close to it, you can't see. It doesn't look right, so you always step back and have a look. Or you take a picture and then you look at the picture. I'm just doing some reflection on the top of his head there, and it goes to under his fin. This is just using the light blue permanent. It creates a difference between the fin and his body. Apologies for my children in the background. It is very hard to edit without them not yelling, especially when they're playing Plants vs. Zombies. Apparently it's really funny. Anyway, I'm doing some more reflections or highlights on the top of his head here, and in a minute I'm going to go down and do it's basically an X from the top of both of his eyes to over the top of his nose. You'll see that it basically forms an X. Now that part above his eye is highlighted obviously because it's in the sun. It's the lightest part of his body, because the sun is on that side, and well, so is that eye. So now I'm going down to do that X that I was talking about, just above his eye. I'm just doing upwards motions from the dark line up into the middle of his forehead, I guess. Does he have a forehead? I don't know. Yeah, and I just do that, and then I go all the way down in the form of an X, basically. Okay, so now I'm using the Cerulean Blue that I used for the base coat of Bruce, and I'm bringing down that top part into the white grey part. I know I've said it a million times, but if you look at the reference picture, you'll see that there are parts of the blue that come into the grey down there. Now on the right hand side, I'm going to do the same because there's little bits of blue that go under his lip, and at the top left of his mouth, it's kind of curved blue as well. Now Bruce has what appears to be a little, I don't know, a bump right there. It looks like it's supposed to be his nose, but I think it's a scratch or something. So I just got some ultramarine blue, the darker blue, and made a little bump there and just add a little bit of white around it. And now I think we are onto his teeth, which are the best bit. You need 3 layers of teeth. Now I know my camera stopped
recording on one of these layers, so I do 3 layers of them, so you just do the same. Anyway, I'm using white, titanium white, with a little bit of Mars black mixed in, and I'm just basically doing any shape. Not any shape, you're not doing circles or anything like that. You do a basic triangle, but it's curved like a shark's tooth obviously is, and you just go all the way along at the very back of the bottom of his lip there on the lighter part. I'm just going along doing the same thing the whole way. The teeth on the left are a little bit slanted, they're supposed to be, and then when you come to the front they're more pointy and bigger, and then the teeth on the right, they seem to slant inwards a little bit, so you'll see that pardon me, I'll change the angle of the teeth when I get to the right hand side, but you're still just using the titanium white and a little bit of Mars black, because you don't want them to be white, because, well, teeth aren't white, and when you add the highlights of the titanium white, it looks much better if the teeth are a little bit grayer. So here I am just looking at the teeth, see how they're getting pointier and they're beginning to curve a little bit. This is what I was talking about with the slanting teeth. See how they're starting to slant inwards a little bit and towards the left? Okay, because I'm fickle, I like to jump from places to places. Now I'm using the Cerulean Blue and the titanium white to blend in the blue and the grey of his mouth, jaw, cheek down there. For this whole section here, I'm using the Cerulean Blue and the titanium white, and I'm just doing the highlights on his face that you can see on the reference photo, or just follow along what I do. Yeah, just doing the highlights. Just use whichever colour you think is necessary, the Cerulean Blue and Titanium White, just to blend it all together. I do bits and pieces of both Cerulean and Titanium just to make all the little bits different colours, because there's so many different shades on him. It's beautiful actually, the way that he is. And I just wanted to capture all that, so I go over his fin again, I go over his eye again, and the side of his face, and his mouth, cheek, and his nose, and just use a variation of colours that you think is necessary. Okay, on my palette I have Prussian Blue and yep, paintbrush in the mouth, don't do it. And then I get Golden's Gloss Glazing Liquid and basically do a 50-50 of the Prussian Blue and the glazing liquid, and I'm going to go around the outside edge of his fin. And then when I've done that, it's just a slight little up and down strokes just along the edge of his fin there. And when I've done that, I'm going to get Cerulean Blue and I'm going to paint the inside of the fin again, and then I'm going to get the mop brush and I'm going to work out to blend it together. I'm going to work out from the Cerulean Blue into the Prussian Blue just to blend it, and so it's not harsh at all, because I just really wanted it to look well, really blended. And yes, paintbrush in the mouth again, and there's the Cerulean Blue, and we're going to add it, like I said, to the middle of the fin. Once we get the paintbrush out of our mouth, I'm using a Filbert, I can tell that, of Cerulean Blue and Titanium White, if I can squeeze those last few drops out. Never waste paint. It's not cheap here in Australia, so you don't waste paint. So I'm just mixing the Prussian Blue there with a little bit of the Cerulean Blue just to blend it in. Just blending in the middle of the fin. I'm going, well, I should be going up and down, but I went side to side there. I cheated. But yeah, just making the colours look a lot better. And right now with the Filbert, I'm just trying to bring the Prussian Blue into the Cerulean Blue. Then I put the paintbrush in my mouth again and I decided to get my mop brush. Yep. It is really hot in Australia at the moment, I can tell you. We are having a horrible heat wave. There's been no rain, and I work in a really hot garage. But actually, no, I'm blending the Prussian Blue into the Cerulean Blue because I wanted it to go that way. Usually you blend from the lighter colour out so that you don't mix, so that the darker colour doesn't mix into the lighter colour, but I think on this one I wanted the darker colour to go into the lighter colour, and that's why I started mixing with the Prussian Blue. So I'm just adding the colour and then just mixing it with the mop brush. Mop brushes are amazing, but please make sure you wash it about 5,000 times before you use it, because they shed like my pugs do. They're so frustrating. They just shed onto your painting like 100 hairs at one go. I got one mop brush that I'm still too afraid to use, because the second I use it, it just poof. Anyway, blending the fin in there, just going over it numerous times with the Cerulean Blue and the Prussian Blue, and just blending it and blending it and blending it, and see how much better and nicer it looks. Okay, I've got some more Prussian Blue here, and I'm using a liner brush. I think it's a Mont Marte 16/0. It's very small. Sorry, a round brush. And I'm just doing dots on his fin because it just adds texture. And on his photo, in the reference photo, he has lots of dots on him. So I just wanted to do all these little teeny tiny dots just because I am pedantic. I like things to look good, and if it doesn't look good, then I get annoyed. So yeah, add the dots or don't add the dots. I add dots on his face as well and around his mouth a little bit because he had some dots there too. But I'm just dotting, doing very teeny tiny little dots in the Prussian Blue, just mainly on the Cerulean Blue part of his fin. Okay, now we have some Cerulean Blue and Titanium White. It's about a 50-50 mixture again. And I'm just going to go over a little bit of the highlight there on the top of Bruce there, just near his fin. And I made a mistake on his mouth on the left side there. His cheek wasn't wide enough, or wasn't far enough away from the end of his mouth. So I grabbed some Titanium White and I just make it a little bit wider because, well, in the picture there's a gap there and there's some wrinkles in that spot, and the way I had it I couldn't fit those wrinkles in. So I'm just going over that part with Titanium White, and I will fix the colours up later. It's just to cover the mistake I made. Titanium White is the best choice to cover your mistakes. It covers just about everything. And then I'm going to grab Cerulean Blue and Titanium White and just go over this little highlight. Well, it's not a highlight, it's a blending part under his nose there that goes into his, I don't know the anatomy of a shark, I'm sorry, his mouth. And then I grab the mop brush and just go up and down. And yes, the paintbrush is in my mouth again. Obviously it's a bad habit. I didn't realise I was that bad. But I'm just going up and down there. Okay, here I am using some more Cerulean Blue just to go around and blend in that white of the cheek that I just did. I'm using a round brush because, sorry, that was my pug snorting, it wasn't me. I'm using a round brush because I'm just going around the edge and I'm a little bit into that white grey part just to make the start of some creases. And in a minute I will grab some white and Cerulean Blue, so I'll make a very light Cerulean Blue, and I'm going to make a crease down the left hand side there of his face where the Cerulean Blue is. And then after I have done that line there, see, I'm just going down just because he has a lot of creases there. There's quite a few, and I didn't have big enough canvas, so I couldn't fit them all in. Yes, paintbrush in mouth. I know. I will work harder to change that. So I'm just going down with the Cerulean Blue and the white more to the white than the blue, because I want it fairly light. It's a highlight. And then I'm going to get the Prussian Blue and I'm going to draw a line on the left hand side of that highlight to make the crease more believable. Okay, so here I am with the Prussian Blue, just going down on the left hand side of that highlight, just to make the crease, because you need the highlight on one side and the crease, basically the dark spot where no light is getting, on the opposite side of where the sun is coming. And then I'm going to get a mop brush, yep, paintbrush, yep. I didn't realise I was that bad, I do apologise. Yeah, I'm getting a mop brush and I'm going up and down, just slightly, very, very lightly blending the Prussian Blue into the white highlight. And then I'm just going to go over them a couple of times and blend them a couple of times just to make it look pretty damn awesome. Okay, I'm just doing some other creases there, just a couple of them, with the same technique, Prussian Blue, with a little bit of highlight on the right hand side and then a little bit of a lighter piece on the left hand side, just blending them in. Okay, I've got my round brush, the 16-on-0, and the Prussian Blue again, and I'm just doing some dots on that left hand side of his body there. Just as many dots as you can, as many dots as you feel like doing. I did quite a few, and then I blended them very gently. Don't do it hard or anything, because you will just turn it into a big mush. But I just got the mop brush and I blended it very gently in. Okay, I'm still just using the round brush and the Prussian Blue and just doing lots and lots of dots here. Still going with the dots. Okay, now I've got my Filbert brush and black and white to make a dark grey, and I'm going to do the shadow kind of part on his white cheek there. I'm just going to go in a kind of a C motion just around his, the top of his mouth there, just under it, and then I'm going to go a little bit above it. Just going to blend that top part there in of the grey with a little bit of white, just to blend it into the cheek a little bit more. And then I'm going to grab some Mars black and I'm going to make a very defined crease on the top left of his mouth there. I go over all of that darker grey with a little bit of lighter grey just to blend it all in, just to make it smooth and not so harsh. Just getting some straight Mars black there and doing the crease that goes from above his mouth to just almost under his eye, I think. And I get some more black and I'll just define that a little bit more. And don't forget the highlight on top of the black crease there. It's just a lighter grey than what the rest of it is. And then I grab some more Mars black here and I just go over the line and I'm bringing it down just to blend it into the white that is under it. And now I grab the Mars black and I define the line and make it stronger. Just using a little bit of golden glazing liquid to grab some of that dark line that I just did and bring it down just a little bit more. It just helps with the blending. Now I'm just adding a quick little lighter highlight on top of the crease. Okay, the black paint that I just put around his crease is still wet, so I'm just dragging it down a little bit in a straight motion just to make that crease a little bit longer, because that's what the reference photo says. And then I'm just blending a little bit of that dark grey up and above and around that crease. Now it's hard to see, but here I grab some Mars black and I just extend his mouth on the left hand side there up to the, because it's a little bit longer than what I made it. It goes more to the end of the lips. So yeah, I just made that a little bit longer in that part there. I now start making a lighter grey to put on the right hand side of his mouth, because the light is on that side more so than the other side, and I'm just blending it into what I've already done. Well, the other paint that I've done is dry, so I'm just putting it on top, just following what I can see on the reference photo. But definitely the right hand side of his face is a lot lighter, and that is my pug snoring again. I love my pugs. They sit with me all the time. I love them. Yeah, now I'm just doing a little bit of Cerulean Blue here so that I can get my mop brush when I want it and blend those two colours together. So, well, yeah, again, it's not so harsh, because paintbrush in mouth and mop brush. See how when you blend it, the lines just seem to disappear. It's just, I love that mop brush. It really is an amazing brush if you can stop it from shedding. But I do this part on a few different parts of his face here. I just put some lighter white and Cerulean Blue and just blend it in. I have a paper towel and a chain attached to my easel there, so when you see me doing something down there, I'm just drying the paintbrush. And that is my 5-year-old son, who likes to sit down and paint with me whenever I paint. He always brings his jar of dirty water back. Mum's got to clean it for him, and then he runs off. Okay, now I'm going to darken the highlight here with Prussian Blue. I'm just going to go over this whole thing with Prussian Blue. I'm blending that into the other side because it's still wet. And then I'm going to go up a little bit with the Prussian Blue, and then I'm going to blend it into the bottom of his nose, top of his mouth. I'm not quite sure what that part's called. But anyway, here it is. Here's the Prussian Blue, just making that crease again. And then I'm going to make the light cerulean blue mixed with titanium white just here. Just going to make it wet so that I can blend that Prussian Blue back into it. And I'm going to go over it a couple times, just doing the same thing, making that highlight there and the shadow. Just watch how this mop brush blends it all together and just makes it seem just, I don't know, just so smooth and perfect. I really do love this mop brush. I know I've said it a few times, but it makes the painting, it really does, when you have the wet colours and you blend them together. Now this part here, I just added some cerulean blue, and then I put a little bit of titanium white on top of it to mix it on the canvas. Sometimes I like to mix colours on the canvas. And then I'm just blending that in because it's going to be a little bit lighter and I wanted it to smooth into the Prussian Blue. So I'm mixing it with the mop brush with the other paintbrush in my mouth, and I will do the same on the other side. Okay, he has a bit of a shadow there on the right side of his face, so I'm just using some Prussian Blue, and then I'm going to blend it into the Cerulean Blue around the outside of his face there. So he also has a highlight there because the sun is right there. Well, in the imaginary world anyway, the sun is there. So I'm just blending it into the crease that I just made because yeah, it's still wet. Everything there is still wet. So acrylic paints need to be wet to be blended, and they dry very quick, especially in Australian summer. So yeah, you've got to be quick to blend it. I'm just doing the same thing over and over here a couple of times just to get the layers in and the blending in, and I really wanted it smooth, and the more layers that I do and the wetter that it is, the smoother that it looks. So you can tell the right hand side there looks a lot better than the left hand side. And now I'm just starting that Cerulean Blue, and I'm just going to start doing that side, and I'm going to start the blending process and the layering process, the same as I did on the right hand side. You just follow the reference photo where the shadows are and the highlights are, and you just make sure you blend it when it's wet, and just do probably 2 to 3 more layers on there, and it will look amazing. Okay, I'm just doing a little bit of a light grey again around the bottom of his nose, or the top of his nose, or yeah. I'm going to do light grey, a little bit darker there on that side because there's no sun, and then I'm going to add a little bit of Cerulean Blue, and then I'm going to use the mop brush and blend it all in. Okay, I'm still just blending this nose because it's all still wet. This is all taken, I've used golden glazing liquid to help extend the life of the paint, so it's still wet, but I'm going very quick, and now I'm just going to go over the creases again. Just blending that Prussian Blue crease down with the mop brush just to make it blend into everything and look fantastic. Now I'm going to go up to his eye and do some more Prussian Blue for the crease over his eye, and I'll also do highlights and that. So yeah, I'm just doing his eye now. Just using the mop brush again and blending the crease in. This is Cerulean Blue that I'm re-going over the top again with, just to blend it into the crease and to make that side a little bit darker than the other side. More Prussian Blue down there. More Prussian Blue there, and more mop brush and blending. Just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Hopefully you can see the difference between the left eye there and the right eye, where I've done all the blending and the lowlights and the highlights. Okay, just using more Prussian Blue here to do this kind of a crease shadow on the left side of his face there, and then I'm going to use some Cerulean Blue and white to blend it in, and use the mop brush again. Now I'm going to start on the right hand side again and just do some more blending, basically with the Prussian Blue, Cerulean Blue and Titanium White for the highlights, and I'm just going to keep swapping from side to side and just following the reference picture and doing the pieces, the shadows and that where he has his shadows, and just blending it all with the mop brush to make it look great. Okay, this is the part where my camera decided to throw a hissy fit and I didn't realise. So what I've done is I've done his nostrils. They were done in Mars Black. The little crease there, little scratch that's on his nose, I did that in Mars Black and just did a line down. And I've added just a couple of grey lines on his mouth there, and I did those red scratches across his face in Napthol Crimson. And I just blended them in a little bit with the mop brush. Now I also did a layer of, I finished the layer of the bottom teeth and I did the top teeth. So if you just follow what I did for these teeth, you can do the first teeth. Basically I do the teeth in light grey, and then on the left hand side of the top teeth will be a darker shadow. It'll be more black than white. And on the right hand side I'm going to put another layer of a lighter grey. So the left side is darker, the right side is lighter. And you do that along the whole teeth, and see how the top teeth are basically triangles. They're a little different to the bottom teeth. The bottom teeth are curved a little bit. But what I'm doing to the top teeth there, I did to that first row of the bottom teeth. Only the dark side was on there. Oh no, the dark side was on their left side, yeah. It's not upside down. And here I am just going over that second row of teeth, which is going to be in about the middle of his lip there. And another part that I do after I've finished defining these teeth is I use some Napthol Crimson and some black, and I do dabbing motion with the paintbrush. You'll see me do it with this next set of teeth, just around the bottom of the teeth to make it look like the gums are a little bit higher. So yeah, I'm just doing the dark side of his teeth there, and then I'll go along, if I haven't already done it, and do the lighter side of his teeth, and I'll add little highlights later on, and I'll do the same with the second row of teeth there. Just using more titanium white on some of those teeth that are closer to the sun on their light side, just to make it look more reflective. And the further to the left you go, the less white you use. Now I'm just doing the exact same for the second row of teeth on his bottom lip. The left side is going to be the darker grey and the right side is going to be the lighter grey, and the closer you get to the sun, the more lighter the right hand side of the teeth get, if you understand that. Okay, this is the bit I was telling you about. This is Napthol Crimson and the black. This is to put around the bottom of the teeth in a kind of a upside down C, or a sideways C, And yeah, just going to mix them together to make it dark, but so you can also see the red. And then I'm just using my round brush there, using a dabbing motion, just dab, 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 and see how I'm just going around the bottom of the teeth and a little bit up on the sides, just a little bit, just to make the gums appear more gummy. Okay, using the Napthol Crimson and the black still, and I'm just going to do a very thin line on the top lip, just where the teeth are. Don't cover the whole red of the lip, but yeah, just do a very thin line just to make it seem like you've done the same thing with it. Okay, I'm just using black and white to make it a lightish, darkish grey. You'll see the colour when I put it on there. And I'm just going to put it down the side of his face there. That's me practicing my brush stroke. I do that a lot. Just to, if there's a dark spot there on the reference picture, so I just use the dark grey to hint that there's a shadow there. Okay, I'm still using the dark grey and I've got my round brush there, and I'm just going to add some dark spots and highlights and that. I'm doing a lighter grey actually above that cut there on his lip, just to make it seem more highlighted and to make the cut blend in a little bit more. So that is basically white and with a little bit of black in there, just to go above his lip. just smoothing in the light grey and the dark grey around the lines there to make it seem like it has shadows. Excuse me, I just burped. That's professional. Make it seem like it has shadows. Doing white, lighter grey on top of the cuts because there will be highlights there. And I'm doing a little bit darker under the cuts because it will be a little bit of shadow there. Just doing a little highlight over all the little scratches that I've had on his face. Now I tend to do a little bit more than, I don't know what some people do. I like to make the painting look real. I hope to one day get into the ones that make it so realistic, hyper-realism. I like to one day get into that because it just fascinates me how you can paint something and turn it into something that looks like a photo. So I like to try and add all the details I can, and that's why I'm adding the extra highlights, the extra underlights, lowlights, whatever they are. Yeah, so I just go around and do the highlights on all these scratches here, and all the highlights will be on top, or if the lines are vertical, they'll be on the right hand side. Okay, so here I'm just dragging down the shadow and underneath the darkest part of the cut there. It's the easiest way to do it, and now I've stepped back to see what I don't like or what I do like about the painting. And I come back and I do a little bit on the right hand side there, his cheek or his under cheek. It's his belly cheek. We'll call it his belly cheek. Just using the lighter grey and putting white on top of it, blending it on the canvas on his belly cheek. I've managed to squeeze some more titanium white out of that tube, which I was quite proud of. And now I'm just blending it in the canvas while the grey paint is wet, just putting a little bit of highlight on the right hand side of that shadow. Okay, now I'm into the titanium white with the teeniest, tiniest little bit of black to make the lighter highlights, which will be across there, and it goes under his fin to make it seem more defined and like two separate things, like the fin is further back, and you go across the whole top of his head and the right side of his face obviously, and above his eye, and yeah, just watch me and you'll see where the highlights go. I actually like doing the highlights. They're it means you're almost finished, because you usually do the blending and the shadows and all that, and then you get to the highlights, and it's just great to put it on and watch the whole thing just change. The whole painting, it just glows, and the highlights, and especially when you add the titanium white into the pupil at the end. I usually do it at the end. It just makes the face just bam, just light up. Now obviously Golden's glazing liquid here I'm adding here, and I bang into the camera. I'm mixing the titanium white with the golden glazing liquid, probably 60% glazing liquid, 40% titanium white. You could use zinc white if you really wanted to. Yeah, I usually do. I don't know why I didn't, but yeah. Mop brush, just blending it in, and I'm going to do the titanium white and the glazing medium over his the whole face, the highlights on his face, and the mop brush, just to add that little bit of pizzazz. Now, I have not done an art degree. I've never gone to uni. I don't have any certificates or anything. I got really sick a few years ago, and I found the art Sherpa. She's an amazing teacher. If you haven't watched her, you need to go watch her. I'll put a link to her channel down the bottom. She's amazing. She shows you how to do everything. Now, 2-3 years ago, I couldn't paint anything, but I always wanted to paint. And I started watching her, and I started to get better because I was watching her, and I found a reason. Found a reason to fight, to live, to not want to just give up. And yeah, I paint. I have to paint. It's an obsession now. I really love it. Thank you, Art Sherpa. But yeah, I've not studied. I don't know anything. I make mistakes. I'll show the mistakes that I make in here. As you saw, I made a mistake in the background. I did it the wrong colour to begin with, and I shouldn't have. And then I also did Bruce the wrong colour. And I will show you those mistakes because I make them. But I make them and I learn from them. And hopefully I can help you maybe learn from my mistakes. I've got Mars Black here, and I'm going to make his nostrils just a little bit bigger because I wasn't happy with them. So yeah, yet another mistake, or not mistake, but just, you know, change. When you paint, you make a lot of changes. Yeah, I get the light grey, and I go about 3/4 of the way around the outside of his nostril just to make a little bit of a reflection, to make it seem more 3D-ish, more like a nostril. Here I am doing the grey, just with the round brush, just going around the inside there on the right hand side, just to make his nostril appear more, yeah, 2D, 3D. And I do the same on the other side. And then I do the same on the cuts that I have on his face. Okay, I'm about to do his creases or his cuts, just highlighting the right hand side with a little bit of light grey. I just go down that one and then I go down the other ones. And in case you didn't see that, the paintbrush is an amazing scratching tool when you're itchy. You know, just don't stick it in your ear or up your nose or anything like that, but to scratch your neck is perfectly fine. Just doing an even whiter highlight there on the right hand side of that cut, just for the final effect of the shades of the colours there. See, another scratch. Perfect when your head is itchy. And now I'm doing the pupils there. Sorry, the irises. The irises. Yeah, the iris. And on that left eye, he has like a little curve. See the curve on the top there where the blue dips down just a little bit? It just makes him seem angry happy, or hangry, or I don't know. But yeah, don't forget that little curve there. So his pupil isn't iris. The white part isn't a complete circle. It's more like an ice cream cone on the side. See how it's triangular and then it goes up. And the other side has less white on it because you don't see as much of it. We have the round brush again, the 16/0, really small round brush, Mont Marte I have. And I'm getting Cerulean Blue with teeny tiny little bit of white, and I'm just going to start putting all these dots all around his mouth, nose part, whatever it's called. I'm sorry, I don't know. But yeah, I'm just doing all these dots, and yeah, you do them different colours. You do mainly the Cerulean Blue and the white, but there'll be a few white ones in there and a couple of Prussian Blue ones in there too. Just using Cerulean Blue here in the highlights because the Cerulean Blue is dark enough to show as a dark dot. Yeah, and I'm just going above his face here, just there like I did below with the same brush, the round brush 16/0, and using the Cerulean Blue over there as well. Stepped away to look at it again like I usually do, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to start using the Prussian Blue just to make the deeper, darker shadows. And I'm going to go along in the dark spots. Also in the dark spots I will do little white dots as well. Just watch what I do, or look at the reference photo, see how in that dark spot there I have some white dots. But now I'm going to go down and do the Prussian Blue along the edges here, and just the same dots and the same brush you were using before. Make sure you do a variety of different blues, like the Prussian Blue, the Cerulean Blue, and a little bit of the Cerulean Blue and white, just to make it look different, to make it stand out. If you do all the same colour, then it's just, I don't know, boring. So yeah, I did a mixture of all three of the dot colours that I was using down alongside, and on his face, and on his mouth part, and on his cheek mouth. Now for his third layer of teeth, you do them exactly the same way as you did the other two. Light grey, shadow on the left hand side and highlight on the right hand side, and then the Napthol Crimson and the black to make the gums. Just a quick note, the back teeth are smaller than the middle teeth, and the middle teeth are smaller than the front teeth. So the front teeth are the biggest. So make sure you do that. They almost touch the top teeth, but they go, because they're closer to you, they are bigger. So they end around the same size as the other teeth, but they start lower. So yeah, make sure they are bigger. I get some black and white here and I start using my dotting brush again, and I just do some highlighted dots on his face there, and then I go around and I also highlight part of the cuts, and then the next bit will be finishing those front teeth. I have my Filbert and I'm using the black and the white just exactly the same way that I did the other teeth. You do another layer of the black, the grey with the darker side on the left and the lighter side on the right. I've done some quick little titanium white highlights there on the teeth there on the right hand side, if you can see that. That's just pure titanium white. I have a bad habit of leaving my golden gloss glazing liquid open, and so it forms a little film over the top, and when you go to squeeze it out, nothing comes out. So there, it should come out now. Nope, I didn't get the thing off very well. Oh no, I got a little bit out. Using the Mars Black and the glazing liquid, I'm just doing the darkest shadow, like a line, using my round brush on the left hand side of the teeth that are visible. The Napthol Crimson and the black again, just to make that raised area around the teeth for the gums. I'm just going to do exactly the same as what we did before. Just go around the tooth in a sideways C and just make it seem more full depth. Using the Napthol Crimson and Titanium White to make a light pink, and just going to put it in between the bits. Don't go over the dark spots, just put it in between all the bits you can see that are visible. Still using the Napthol Crimson and the Titanium White to make a line along the bottom of the lip. Make sure you leave a very small sliver of the Napthol Crimson on the lip, so you've got a deep red on the bottom. I'm using Mars Black and Titanium White to make different shades of grey dots to put along across his whole face. So just go around and put it everywhere. I think it needs a little bit of a highlight. Almost at the end, we're doing the Titanium White highlights in the pupil to make it look glossy, to make the glare in his eye, and then we're going to do the highlight on his teeth, and then we are done. I want to thank everyone for watching and listening to me talk, and I hope you will try it. I really do. It's a great painting, and I hated it to begin with. I hated starting because I had depression and I just didn't want to paint, but I forced myself to get up and I forced myself to start painting, and I fell in love with him. And yeah, I love him. But remember, it's Disney. I don't own the rights to Disney, and neither do you. Only Disney owns that, so don't sell this or anything. This is just for fun for yourself or your family. Please don't sell it because it's illegal.